guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Festus, and today we'll be talking about how you can gain experience while studying computer science. So the topic of today is gaining experience while studying computer science. So this is not actually particular to computer science. It's pretty much particular to any course or any career path in university that focuses on software industry or actually IT as a whole. But based on the fact that I graduated as a computer engineer, the whole thing will be streamlined down to software development. But I think it's knowledge you can actually apply in cybersecurity and every other path. So let's just dive straight in. So how can you gain experience while studying? Well, the obvious one is you working. That's simple. You just go get a job and then you're probably working part-time or full-time while studying part-time or full-time. But then the thing with studying is, especially when it's computer science, it is really tedious. You don't actually have the luxury of mixing work and study that easy. So it could be that you're in a company where you have to do 8 hours per day or even 4 hours. But then the tricky part about this is even the 4 hours cannot even be that easy, which means like there are companies where you have to work from say 8 to 12. Some would give you 10 to 2 depending, but then your schedule might be so random. You might have classes from 8 to 10 and then the next is maybe from 1 to 4. Now, how are you going to do that? That's impossible unless you have to just focus on studies and forget about work. But then that is where it gets even more difficult because employers are expecting you to have an experience for them to employ you. You don't just jump out of school and then you're coming to, get a job without doing anything, without getting your hands dirty. That brings us to point number 2. Point number 2 is by you taking internships. That's something I've said in one of my videos. So internships give you the experience you need, although they are short-termed, but it still looks appealing as opposed to, just studying full-time and going to get a job after studies. Now, the next one is freelancing. Now, this is something that a lot of people think you have to do, say, when you have 10, 12, 5 years of experience in the software industry or coding. But that's not exactly the case because the market demands range from something as easy as a static website or even an email down to, something complex like, Microsoft Office 365. So you starting to build projects for people early counts as experience because the more you build, the more it seems like a business and the more people come to you. And you know that everyone who's going to come to you is not going to come with the same need. And even like the need they're coming with, it's not going to have the same it's not going to look the same way complex wise. So that might be difficult. There are ways to this, but I'm going to put down videos down the description on people who are freelancers and the advices they have on ways to go about this. But pretty much the easiest way to start freelancing while studying is by talking to friends and family. So say your dad has a shop where he sells wine, you could offer to build, say, a site where people can see the wine that is available, possibly make a reservation, then come and pick it up depending on the country you're in, because some countries you can actually order wine. Or even order, if it's possible in the country, if it's allowed to do something like that where you're in, add a functionality like that. Before you know, step by step, you're building up a massive portfolio that will look appealing to an employer. So that's it for freelancing. And the next thing we're going to talk about the next thing I think you can do to gain experience is having fun creating. That sounds weird, right? But it's the honest truth. There are people who actually don't work, they don't freelance, they don't do anything. They just spend their time building lots of projects. But in building projects, you want to build something that is fun because let's be honest, if it's not fun, you will dump it before you even get to completion. So an example is you could say be using something like Uber and you're like, this application seems fascinating. I want to know what it looks like building something like this. And you build exactly the same thing and put it up on your portfolio. Yes, no one is using it, but the thing is, you actually build something of market value. That is the main thing you have to know when you're having fun. As much as you're having fun building a lot of things, working on side projects and all that, as though it doesn't need to go to completion, it doesn't even need to be used by the public, but in order for this to make sense to potential employers, you need to make sure it's of market value. You need to make sure it solves a particular problem. The next way you can gain experience while studying is through collaboration. There are several ways you can do this, either by talking to course mates, people in your school, or even people who study in other schools, or even people you don't know you met on the internet. So it's pretty much easy. You see someone building something you would find interesting, working on, you contact the person and ask them if they would allow you to, join them in bringing this idea to reality, or the other way around. You invite someone to join yours. And with collaboration, there is actually one particular thing you need to know and one particular venue that gives you the avenue to work on projects that are already of importance in the industry. That brings us to the next point, which is going to hackathons. Now, hackathons are events where you go and you meet other people, could be students or even software developers that already work in the industry. So you're splitted in teams and allowed to collaborate with each other to solve a particular problem, which after this set of problems are solved, a winner is chosen. In most cases, you win money. In other cases, you get some gifts or your CV is being given to recruiters. Now, hackathons are really important because not only do you get the opportunity to collaborate with people to build real-world solutions, you also get to meet recruiters from the company organizing the hackathon or from other companies that partner with the organizers of that hackathon. The last point I'm going to talk about is selling software. This is actually the most difficult one amongst everything I've said today. And what this pretty much emphasizes is you think about a problem that society is having and you solve it. This is an example of this is Netflix, for instance. Netflix obviously started as a project that someone was having for fun. That person might have been in the university or not. I don't really know the story of Netflix. It's just an example. I could wake up and I'm thinking, oh, it's difficult for the transport company of my city to operate because everyone is jumping in and then the driver has to stop, collect the fee and everything. I figure it out. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me build something where people can pay, and when they go inside the bus, they just scan a particular machine and it grants them access. What is the beautiful thing about something like this? The beautiful thing is it is making me money while I'm still studying, and of course, that's already a job. If I decide to continue with it, my business. If I decide to look for a job in a big company, it's more beautiful because then they are saying this guy has already solved a real world problem, used it and pushed it to gain market value. So you are pretty much an asset at this point. So guys, that's all for today. Whichever one you decide to do first or whichever one you even decide to settle for within the course of your studies depends on who you are, where you are, and what you actually want. If you have any further questions about this, I'm going to drop my contact down the description. Just hit me up and we'll talk further. Thank you for watching, guys. See you next week.